I just want to go ahead and say it. I'm sorry I took some time off and wasn't really posting for a minute. I'm back here with more One Piece, more Dragon Ball Z content is coming soon. If you're brand new, my first video you're watching, my playlist. I got Dragon Ball Z videos, One Piece videos, and tons of anime, manga reviews, TV show reviews, that sort of thing. But today I'm here to review what I believe is, at least so far, the best One Piece saga I've seen. Now, if you watched my last video where I reviewed the Sky Island saga, you would know I'm not a big fan of that part of the story. And if you didn't watch it, shame on you. Go peep it, link in the description or on the card on one of these corners. Watch that video before you watch this one just to get my idea on how I feel about the Sky Island saga. Now, I'll be honest, Water 7 does not start out amazing, but it ramps up to be one of the best and, in my opinion, most important sagas so far in the storyline. Like before, honestly, East Blue had maintained a good spot for one of my favorite sagas in the story, just because it had a good mixture of comedy, action, story, that sort of thing. And Alabasta was good, but just a little slow and dipped too much for me in certain sections. And Sky Island was just way too slow and tried so many new things all at once that I just felt like I was kind of overwhelmed, but also underwhelmed at the same time. But dude, Water 7 is on a completely different level. And it's funny because on my TikTok, where I would post reviews of One Piece, follow my TikTok if you haven't already, I would post my reviews on One Piece there, and I got so many comments of, you know, watch this arc, watch this saga, all this stuff, right? I feel like I never really heard people talking up Water 7 that much, and to me that's crazy because this is easily, like, bar none, the best, most exciting saga I've seen so far. And you always hear those people talk about One Piece like, oh, it doesn't get better until like episode 600, 700, or wait till you get to Wano and all these things, right? Right now, Water 7 is awesome. It's amazing. So if it's just getting better from here, I'm super excited. So let's go ahead and break down each arc in the saga, and then obviously at the end we'll talk about the entire saga a little bit more and then get to my collective thoughts on everything. This first arc is easily the worst in the saga, and honestly might be one of the worst sagas in the entire show. This arc, we get introduced to the Foxy Pirates, and man, do I have some stuff to say. I heard a lot of people say don't watch the Foxy Pirates saga or this arc specifically because it's filler, don't watch it, and that sort of thing. And while I don't disagree, it does feel like filler a lot of the time. From the wiki, this is canon, so I did watch it just for the sake of watching everything that's canon. But I wonder if that many people were commenting on my stuff saying it's filler, how many people actually did skip this thinking it was filler, even though it's technically not. Now, I have nothing against a goofy comedic arc. If you're gonna take an arc in a completely more comedic tone, that's totally fine. I'm not opposed to that. But this arc as a whole just sucks. I feel like this arc just never ends. Like, it just keeps going and going. You get the initial confrontation, you get the island and everything, then you get the like pirate games that they end up having, and it just doesn't stop. And it gets so frustratingly annoying to have this arc at the very beginning here. I didn't even find anyone in the Foxy Pirates to be fun either. I just got annoyed by almost every single character that was introduced. Not a single one I liked at all, really. However, we do get the super iconic Afro Luffy in this arc, so that at least kind of pushes it over the edge a little bit. But apart from Afro Luffy and maybe a handful of chuckles every now and then, I just really didn't like this arc.
And you're right, it sucks!
If it wasn't canon, I would have totally skipped it, and now after watching it, I completely get why people were telling me to skip it, because I think it just feels so much like filler. It doesn't feel like it's canon at all. But it's weird because you have a filler arc like G8 that I actually really enjoyed and I thought was super well done, and I honestly wish we could have got more of that. But then you have a canon arc like this one, and this one just feels so much worse than G8 did. So it's kind of weird how that filler arc is better than this canon arc almost. And you know how One Piece is. One Piece tends to lay the groundwork and foreshadow things hundreds of episodes in advance. So for all I know, whatever happened in this arc could be super important in like episode 900 or something like that. But it's weird because in One Piece, honestly, there's been dips in every arc and every saga to an extent. But this is the first time an arc has legitimately like left me super disappointed that I watched it. Like, I almost super big time wanted to take a break from One Piece after watching this.
And that hurts like hell.
And I'm not trying to be a hater on this arc. I think generally everyone kind of has negative feelings towards this arc other than Afro Luffy. But it's just weird to have an arc that doesn't grab my attention at all and honestly pushes me even further away from One Piece. And now obviously that sounds really negative, right? And while this is probably one of the worst arcs in One Piece, and honestly maybe worst arcs in anime in history, it does lead up to what eventually ends up coming to a huge arc and then even better and better and better. So let's move on. While I don't love Water 7 as much as another arc in this saga, I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I will say I didn't love how this arc kind of forcefully hypes up certain characters. The Galileo crew, Iceberg, and Frankie, honestly, all kind of felt like they were forcefully being pushed in my face, kind of. I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like One Piece has a very good track record of organically and naturally bringing in characters, And here it just felt like they were kind of being shoved down my throat a little bit, at least in the beginning. But after watching the entire saga, I honestly have no problem with it. This is a very big arc and big saga in general, so maybe they just didn't have the time, but I don't know, One Piece is 1,000 episodes, so they probably did have the time, but I don't know, maybe they just wanted to bring in these characters quicker to get to the actual storyline faster, and after watching everything, I am okay with that. I think this arc kind of does what Skypiea did a little bit, very, like, not even that similar, but just kind of, where it tries to introduce a lot up front, quickly, and it can easily, I feel like, kind of negatively affect the watch experience. For me, it was fine, but I did feel at certain points a little like, let's chill a little bit here in the beginning. But now again, after watching it, like I said, I have no problem with the pacing or anything like that. And Water 7 actually is a decently long arc, but it actually feels really short. And while every character in One Piece gets a good backstory and gets kind of their moment, and I knew we were going to get more of Robin's backstory at some point, I just didn't expect it to be this soon and for it to go in this direction. I will say I'm glad her backstory is just so much different than everyone else's. Her backstory heavily involves the Marines, it heavily involves the Void Period and stuff like that. Seeing her backstory when you compare it to someone like Sanji, his is completely different, it just feels kind of like One Piece is making a big world with different characters with vastly different backgrounds. And also this whole Poneglyph storyline with Robin, I feel like just makes her that much more of a valuable character in the world of One Piece, but also to our team too. And while we obviously don't know the whole purpose of Poneglyphs just yet, it makes her character overall more interesting, more mysterious even, and just gives her a little bit more attention than I think she probably wasn't getting before. Like, she was always an interesting character, but I feel like this saga and this arc specifically really unlocked a whole piece of Robin that we weren't getting before. Outside of Robin, our team does still do cool stuff. We still get a lot more character moments here. And while I usually hate forced conflict in most things, I will say I really enjoyed Usopp versus Luffy here. I just don't like it when they force, especially teammates, to go against each other just for the sake of either having an internal conflict or for prolonging the storyline. But for here, it genuinely kind of made sense. Where each character was coming from made sense in its own way. And it's because One Piece really takes its time to develop this rivalry between Luffy and Usopp for a few episodes before the conflict finally comes to head. And I think that's what really set it apart from just forcing these two people to fight. It made me feel like they genuinely had different interests and different kind of vibes that were just conflicting with each other. And this arc did something crazy. It made me really care about Usopp as a character and as a person. And it's kind of weird because this arc definitely focuses more on Robin and her backstory, but I left this arc feeling a lot more for Usopp than any other character. I actually thoroughly felt for him and felt bad for him. Overall, I really like this arc a lot, and the next one after this just steps everything up and gets me to care about Usopp even more, which if you watch my older One Piece reviews, like the first two, those ones I kind of go in on Usopp as a character. I really didn't like him at all.
I fucking hate this guy.
And now I'm low-key kind of an Usopp fan. I get why a lot of people like his character, and I get why a lot of people end up liking him later on in the story too. There's a lot of good action and world development in Water 7, the arc, and I do think it does a good job at bringing it all together to a close. And overall, everything with CP9 and Robin and that whole mystery kind of unraveling itself throughout this arc is done really well. I also think the real villains being Galley Law really does make for a good twist that I felt I honestly was not expecting at all. I was fully expecting Galley Law to help the Straw Hat Pirates kind of move forward. And while obviously not everyone in the Galley Law is bad, a majority of them do turn out to be villains. I just think it's really refreshing and kind of reminds the audience to be on their toes with these characters. You really never know people's intentions and that sort of thing. And honestly, Water 7 was really close to being one of my favorite arcs in all of One Piece. That is until... This is, in my opinion, easily one of the best arcs in One Piece, and honestly one of the best arcs in anime so far. I have not experienced an arc in this show specifically that has been nearly as good as Enies Lobby. First off, let's just talk about it. The fighting here is amazing. All the action in this arc is top tier. We see our team of Straw Hat Pirates team up with the Frankie family, which is really unexpected and not really something that I thought we were going to get, but it was just really cool seeing two conflicting groups come together and kind of go against one single target. And also just seeing our team fight to their limits is always really interesting. It's awesome seeing how they level up from one fight to another and go on from there. And this might be the first arc where I think every single teammate in the Straw Hat Pirates was pushed to their limits. Every single person had a fight that pushed them to the point of breaking, basically. And I think the whole section of them trying to save Robin on the train was super well done. I actually love that section of this arc. And man, I'd be lying if I said that not having Usopp here really upset me, but we do get Sniper King, and that's at least something, right? Also, the Sniper King song is probably one of the best songs in anime history. I just need that shit constantly playing.
Oh, the wind carries my name from from Sniper Island far away.
When we actually get to Enies Lobby is when things for me really turn up though. First off, we learn that Luffy takes out not only 50 Marine guards, not 100, but over hundreds of Marine guards all by himself. And we get here probably my favorite scene in all of One Piece so far, and that's when Luffy commands Sniper King, to shoot down the flag. Obviously, him shooting down like a fabric thing is not the most intense, insane thing in the world, but it's more about what that symbolizes to the show and to the team and to the Marines too. It's basically the Straw Hat Pirates initiating war with the Marines, and I think that's just such a crazy thing because it's not even about the action, more just like the disrespect that they put on the Marines is just insane here. It's basically Luffy just signaling to the Marines and the government, I'm coming for you and I'm not stopping. Pause. And it's crazy because this whole arc and Saga basically is about the government trying to take out Robin because she has access or knowledge of the poneglyphs and these super secret weapons and all this stuff, right? And Luffy's basically saying nah. Like Luffy's pretty much just responding with,
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me!
To me, the symbolic action of him shooting down the flag is just so tough. And the fact that all the Straw Hat Pirates are there for it and are all kind of lined up, this makes like the perfect 4K wallpaper. And I wish we could get like an even higher resolution of this scene because it's so sick. And for me, it's one of the best scenes so far. And I will say the part in this arc where they have to go find keys for different rooms, I hated that. I hate when we're just on like a goose hunt for shit. That bothers me to my core. And I don't know why One Piece does this a lot, where it's like, oh, we have to get to this one thing, but we have to go through like 5 other things to get to this one thing. And I know that's like a common trope with an anime, especially shown into prolonged fight scenes and stuff like that. But for me, I just don't like it here. I feel like One Piece does such a good job at world development and plot lines and storylines and all this stuff. And for it to take such a bland, meandering thing just sucks. But it does give us time to basically spend time with each character and each different fight scenes. That is something we do get time for each character, like I said, to shine and get a really good fight scene for each person. I think us seeing more Devil Fruits is also really cool. Just more Devil Fruit powers in general is always going to be kind of a hype moment, so that was dope. Also seeing Chopper's monster mode here was just insane. I really want more information on this mode. I'm not sure when we fully find out more background on Chopper's Devil Fruit or his modes or whatever, but I really want to know more about this monster mode that he has here because he completely loses control, becomes almost like not even there, like he's just mentally gone, but his power level just seems insane here, and I want to see more of this and I want to see more information on it. I do think Luffy versus Lucci, is that his name? Lucci, I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but I think that fight scene in general is really dope, but I do think it dragged on a little too much for me personally. I did like it, but I just felt like it could have been sped up. So that's my real only like nitpicky issues here is I didn't like the keys in this arc, and I also didn't love how dragged on the Luffy versus Lucci fight was. We also do learn a lot about the Void Century and Robin's past as well. And we also get some good information as to how far the government's willing to go to protect their secrets and to protect whatever's in the Void Century that they don't want everyone else to know about. Overall, man, this arc is just insane. I cannot believe how good this arc is. I actually just want to go back and rewatch it right now just because it's that level of just wow. I love it. Now, the post-Enies Lobby arc is pretty much just a wrap-up for what happens in the Enies Lobby arc, obviously. I will say with how action-packed Water 7 and Enies Lobby is, I do understand needing to have a whole arc just to the aftermath of everything that just happened. And it does make sense for our crew and everything like that to rest and gather their thoughts, so that's fine. And this arc does a good job at following up Water 7 and Enies Lobby as much as it could. We get to see Kobe and Garp back, which is really cool because obviously Kobe's like one of the only characters other than Luffy that's still kind of showing up every now and then from the very first episode. And obviously Garp being Luffy's grandfather, I believe. We get tons of backstory on Luffy potentially here, so that's always just really interesting to see him. And we actually get a good amount of information from Garp here. We get information on Shanks, the 4 emperors, and that's just dope because we get more world building and everything like that, so that's awesome. I also think this is the moment that Luffy finds out that his dad is Dragon, and also that his dad is the person that saved him in Logtown. So that's really cool to see that kind of come full circle now, like almost 200 episodes later. Just to see that come back it's really awesome. I also think it's crazy that they name drop Luffy's dad as like this huge revolutionary guy, because I really wonder if Luffy trying to be the king of the pirates will ever butt heads with his dad, being that his dad's also kind of being a big force in his own way. I wonder if they'll ever butt heads or maybe come to some sort of conflict later on in like the 1000s or 900s or something like that. We also get some new bounties for the team, which is really dope. And we also get the full complete return of Usopp back into the team and into the pirate crew. And just to kind of give my full concluding thoughts on Usopp in this arc and kind of in this saga, I'm genuinely surprised at how much this this arc and all the other arcs got me to care about him. I just feel like in my arc reviews, I kind of just slowly started to say, oh, I like Usopp more for this, or I liked when Usopp did this. I kind of started to give him props every now and then, and now to the point where I genuinely really do enjoy his character, and I love seeing him on screen. And he's really the only character that I didn't like immediately. I liked everyone pretty much as soon as they were introduced and backstory was given and they were joined into the crew. I liked everyone except for him. But he easily delivers some of the goofiest moments with Luffy, and also delivered one of the most intense action-packed moments with Luffy in the previous arc before this. We also get a really good team moment here of Zoro basically wanting Usopp to apologize to Luffy in a respectful way. And that's just really good, like, subtle writing for team building here, because you have to remember at the end of the day, while they're friends, they're also a crew of pirates that have a leader, that has someone in a leadership role like Luffy. So you have to keep that line of they're the captain and that sort of thing. And I just love how they kind of touch on that here to remind us as watchers, like, while they're friends and they're a team, there is still a level of respect and, you know, leadership here. Now, the other big change here is obviously we get a new ship, which is super sick. Being that the Going Merry literally shot up into the fucking sky, I think it's understandable at a certain point that ship would be kind of destroyed and we would need to get a new one. So seeing a new ship is just super exciting, and I love the Thousand Sunny. I love the design and everything around it, and I'm just super excited for what this new ship kind of brings in store for our team. I really did also love seeing Iceberg towards the end here. I really hope we get more of his backstory and more of him as a character, because I think him and Frankie's kind of relationship is super interesting and honestly was one of the better parts of this whole saga. So I really do hope we get more of either his backstory and maybe more of Frankie's that kind of ties into Iceberg's a little bit. And also I would love to know why he's called Iceberg. I thought he was gonna have like some ice devil fruit or something like that, and maybe that's like too specific and cliche, but I need to know where that name comes from. So, and kind of mentioning Frankie there, obviously he ends up joining the crew. We need someone to take care of the ship. For the longest time, Usopp was kind of just like slowly repairing stuff when he could, but we need an actual, you know, person that can take care of the ship and build the ship and repair it and all that stuff. So that's kind of Frankie's job here. And I do think Frankie adds a lot to the team. I know I didn't really touch on him too much because honestly, I don't think he really does a lot until like Enies Lobby and even then like towards the end. But I do like his character a lot, and I think he has such a cool, interesting, loud personality that I do enjoy seeing. Obviously, the crew that we have currently isn't lacking in personality, but I think adding to that is never really a bad thing as long as it's done well. And I do think it was done really well here with Frankie. Apart from that, we do get the Ace versus Blackbeard fight at the very end of this arc. And I will say, Blackbeard being this like lingering character for the last few arcs and sagas is insane. The fact that he's literally only been in maybe 3 or 4 episodes as the most like minor character in the world, but for him to have this huge moment at the end with Ace is just super interesting. I love this. I do wish we got maybe an episode or 2 more of like build up towards this. That would have been really cool just to see kind of Blackbeard's perspective or maybe Ace's perspective. But obviously we do learn in Alabasta that Ace is hunting him, so we do get that kind of background stuff just so much earlier than we probably would remember. I just don't think there's ever been an anime or show that has put a character in our faces and then said, okay, like this character is gonna be a big character in like 300 episodes from now, so just keep an eye on him. There's never really been a show that's done that, and this is the first time I've ever experienced that with a character, and that's Blackbeard, obviously. But either way, we get to see the fight between Ace and Blackbeard, and it's insane just seeing the level of these two characters. Obviously, we know Blackbeard is probably gonna end up being a big threat, but if you remember in the show, they basically suck Ace off every time they can. Like everyone talks Ace up entirely any chance they get. So seeing Ace kind of struggle a little bit with Blackbeard here was pretty wild. And this arc and saga ends with Ace's hat on the floor, kind of leaving his fate a little bit in the questionable area. And wow, I can't explain how good of a wrap up this arc is to the entire saga. In my opinion, it leaves it perfectly. It gets me excited for the next arc. It gets me hyped for what's next to come in One Piece and to dive further into the world. It makes me really feel like validated for watching what I did watch. All right, so my concluding thoughts on this saga overall. This is easily the best saga in One Piece. It honestly doesn't even come close. I have liked this show for a long time, honestly, but finally getting to this saga and to these arcs really makes me feel like this could be one of my favorite animes of all time. I loved basically every bit of this saga other than the first arc, and it honestly just got better and better. Despite the interesting start to the Water 7 saga, it ended and concluded in a way that I felt was perfect. This saga fully 100% without a doubt turned me into a One Piece fan. So now I always try to rank my One Piece arcs in my saga reviews just so I can kind of give like a ranking on which arcs I like the most, like the least, that sort of thing. I do feel like it's pretty obvious which ones I liked a lot and which ones I didn't, but let's still just do it for the sake of doing it. The worst easily is the Long Land, Long Ring arc. I'm not even sure if that's the actual name of it. I don't care. This is such a bad arc. The literal only saving grace that we get Afro Luffy, and that's basically it. Other than that, this arc is honestly like F tier. It's horrible. Now after that, I'd probably put Water 7 above it, but just keep in mind, I hate the first arc so much to where Water 7's like in a completely different league, even though it's just above it. And it's like a whole different tier. Like Water 7 is still great, but I'd probably put it in third place. It does a lot of times setting up things that honestly doesn't really pay off until Enies Lobby or the post Enies Lobby arc, and it kind of does take a little bit of moments at being a story dumping ground just to kind of drop exposition and plot lines and that sort of thing. It's very good, just not as good as my next pick. Post Enies Lobby manages to wrap up everything that we just watched in a super satisfying way. It just leaves me so hyped for what the world of One Piece has to offer and hyped to dive further into the show. Everything we watched at this point has been really good, and this arc just leaves me really happy with what I was watching, and kind of makes me feel almost like the creators just coming out and shaking my hand and being like, thank you for watching. Like it just feels like such a good relationship I have with the show after this arc. It's very good, but it's not as good as my next pick, and that's going to be Enies Lobby. This arc easily has some of the best action, best character moments, best everything in all of One Piece so far. I truly think if I could show someone an arc in One Piece to kind of explain what One Piece is and what is it about, I would love to show them this arc. I think this arc perfectly encapsulates the storytelling, the action, the emotional moments, all that stuff. I know this arc is like still in the 300s or 400s, I'm not fully sure, but I know this is not like one of the first arcs you get in One Piece, but I still urge anyone that's kind of put off from watching One Piece or dropped it or anything like that, get to post Enies Lobby or Enies Lobby at least, because I think it genuinely makes me love this show. The storyline with Robin, with Usopp, the team finding out what it means to be a team, all this stuff in Enies Lobby really makes me love it that much more. And I honestly would be lying if I said I didn't love this arc. The Buster Call, the action, the background, the storyline, everything is just awesome. So now you know how I feel about the Water 7 saga. I want to know how you guys feel about it. Did you like Water 7? Do you have bad taste? Let me know. And also, what is your favorite arc or saga in One Piece? I will be eventually putting together a saga like ranking tier list when I get further through the show, so go ahead and watch that. I'm also going to plan to do like a pit stop in One Piece video where I review like the first 500 episodes and kind of give my thoughts as a new One Piece watcher on how the first 500 episodes feel so far. So subscribe for that too. And while you're subscribing, go ahead and watch my video essay review on Jump Force and kind of what happened to that insanely weird game. Watch that video essay. I promise it's awesome. Thanks for watching and have a good one.